All right, here we go. We've got Bob. So cards on the table. We work with 3DC. We've been working with 3DC, since the start of the year, since before the start of the year, as we go into our Channel Fireball Marketplace launch. So this feels like my Monday. I have a Monday meeting with Bob every Monday. It's like my Monday meeting a little bit early, but it's good to see you, Bob. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a treat. I cannot overstate how much we've learned as a marketing team, myself, Dennis, Rachel, our whole marketing team at Channel Fireball, from working with Bob and his team at 3DC. Just every week there's something new, some different initiatives we've planned. And without going into too much of the nitty-gritty, we've gained so much in terms of SEO, in terms of market presence, in terms of all the things we've worked on together, working with Bob and his team at 3DC. So I'm thrilled, Bob, that you could take time out of your schedule here on this Saturday to talk to the retailers here on the eve of the Channel Fireball Marketplace. One little piece of an administrative business. Our next presenter was meant to be Michael Waddell from MetaZoo. Unfortunately, Michael had something come up and he will not be joining us for LGSC3. He was he was trying to make it happen. Poor Michael. He was like texting this morning and be like, hey, maybe this, maybe that, but he just couldn't quite do it. Some emergency stuff came up on his part. So hopefully everything's good with you, Michael. I hope things are good. But for anyone expecting MetaZoo after Bob's presentation, unfortunately, Michael is unable to join us today. Okay, that being said, I want to jump back to Bob here. No matter the size of your business, I just want to say, if you have an online presence, you want to really pay attention to what Bob has to say, because as I said, he and his team have done amazing things. Whether you're the size of a Channel Fireball or whether, your Moshi's Comics and Cards, just getting your start on the internet. There's so many things. It's almost easier because you don't have to break bad habits. You don't have to undo bad things. Grow intelligently, grow the smart way. And I just can't say enough about how you really want to follow Bob's advice, because there's a few things where even, because we've been around for a while, we were kind of like, really, do we want to do that? And then we follow, obviously, when you hire an expert, you want to listen to the expert, you follow the advice and you see the results. So without further ado, Bob, take it away. For everyone out there, I have my notepad up. I'm ready to take notes myself. So hopefully you're all ready, and happy Saturday, Bob. Thank you for joining us. Joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. Take us away.
Perfect. So first and foremost, welcome everybody. As Moshi said, my name is Bob McIntosh, and I'm very excited to be here with you guys this weekend. I know it's a Saturday, and so first and foremost, I want to acknowledge each and every one of you for being here. I want to acknowledge the fact that you took time out of your business, your life, your family, your whatever it is that you had to give up to be on this call, on this conference, and be here. And I'm going to endeavor to make this the next 90 minutes or so the most impactful as I can from a marketing standpoint with your business in terms of local SEO. So let me get my screen share going here. And all right, should be good with that. Perfect. So as the title says, how you can dominate local SEO. Now, whether you've been doing local SEO stuff for a long time, you haven't done anything, either way, you're going to find a lot in this space specifically designed for that. I've got a lot of tips and tricks that are going to help you guys maximize your individual businesses and maximize what it is that you can be doing and how you can be executing it to drive more foot traffic in the door. But here's the great part. If we apply these things and these strategies and these tactics to our local SEO process, we're also going to drive more web traffic. So even if you have an online store, or even if you just have a credibility site that's designed to bring credibility so they do come to visit your local store, either way, there's going to be lots here for you guys to share. I am 100% open to all questions. So if you have questions, throw them in. I am going to hold all of the questions until the end. There might be some that you have as we go through here that I answer as I go through, which is great. If that happens, perfect. You got your answer even faster. If not, then we'll dive back in there. And then also I'll give you guys my contact information. So if you have additional questions or something that's more specific to your exact business that you want to chat with, I'm happy to help you guys. As Moshi said, we've been working with Channel Fireball now for a while. And not to brag, one, it's a lot of fun. Two, despite the fact that it's been a long time since I was in the trading card space and game card space with Magic and all of that, I feel like I'm a kid again right back here doing this. So I'm excited to be a part of that. As I said, use the Q&A button on the Zoom panel and we'll dive into those questions as we go. So without any further ado, just real quick, who the heck is me? I know Mashi gave me a fantastic introduction, but I'm a fellow entrepreneur like most of you guys, except for I started in real estate, and then I actually grew from real estate into digital marketing because I lived 3,000 miles away from where we did real estate and said, well, how do I help? I also love to travel the world. I'm an Amazon best-selling author. That's a picture of me with my book. And I just love my family and spending time with them. And I'm actually in Buffalo actually right now, which is where my parents still live, helping dog sit for them while they're off at a wedding. So the point of this is that when we do things the right way, we build all the stuff, we get the opportunity to do what we love and help people around the world doing it. And that's truly, honestly, my passion, which is why I love working with Channel Fireball and why I'm not, have no problems taking part of a Saturday to come on and share some of my knowledge that I've gained over the last 10 plus years of doing this. So this is what most people think local SEO is. And we're just going to dive right into it. Please, again, grab your pens, grab your papers, because there's going to be quite a few action items here you want to take. I had also intended, by the way, I'll give you guys my contact information. If you want these slides, you can send me an email. I'll have my email at the end. Send me an email. I had actually intended to have a text opt-in for you guys, but then I changed the slides last minute to accommodate some of the changing schedule. So I didn't get a chance to redo them. But if you want to copy these slides, it's because there's going to be, again, a lot of points in here that you're going to want to take notes on. Happy to share those with you, or you can take screenshots, totally cool with that. This information is here for you guys to take action on. So local SEO. A lot of us think about local SEO and we think about one thing, Google My Business, which is super important. And we're going to go into detail with that for sure. But there's a whole lot more to it. There's not just this one big thing that we focus on when it comes to local SEO. There's actually tons of content. In fact, I could probably spend 3 days teaching just this stuff, but we'll condense down what I would teach in 3 days to about the next 90 minutes or so. In reality, while we think this is what local SEO actually looks like, this is what it actually looks like. This is the chart that sort of explains the local search ecosystem. And if you're looking at that going, what in the F? Don't worry, you're not alone in that. There's a lot of different points. What has become local SEO, what has become local business information has been capitalized on by other companies who utilize and update information to push it throughout the web. So while we often think that Google My Business is the most important thing that we need to be doing, it's actually, while it is important, it's not the only thing. There's a lot of things. And my attempt over the next 90 minutes or so is to help you guys see all the different ways that you can maximize your presence, a bunch of tips, tools, tricks, and techniques that you can utilize to generate that. But also, most importantly, it's not just good enough to have one place with this information. We really need to be everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I literally mean everywhere. This is a truncated or abbreviated list of probably the most popular local platforms that people search on. Now, you might be looking at this list and you might be going, okay, that sounds great, but I've never heard of one or two of these or half of these or most of these. But the crazy part is that in this list right here, it's actually, there's millions of people searching or utilizing these services every single month. So these are the ones that we definitely want to be on for sure. Now, I'm going to make it a little bit easier for you here in a minute, but it's amazing when you think about how many different places there are to be. And I want you to look at this list and say, okay, I get that, hey, I may not have the time or energy or effort or the ability right now to actually go in and get on every single one of these. But by doing, there's actually just 4 of them that we need to hit. And I'll cover the big 4 in a minute, aside from Google. That's the number 5, which we'll go into in a whole lot more detail. But understand that this right here is great. Now, a couple of things I do want to point out about this list for each and every one of you. Number 1, if you go to super pages, you're actually getting 2 for 1, super pages and yellow pages combined. So if you list yourself there, you get 2. And it's estimated there's about, I believe they said 20 million users a month between those 2 sites. So it's a massive source of potential traffic. MapQuest, I always get someone that goes on here is like, wait, MapQuest? You mean like the thing I used before Google Maps? Like is that even still around? And it's crazy. They still get about 28 million users a month to their site. So having your business listed there exposes you to almost 10% of the US population. And I actually don't know where everyone's from. So if you're, I would love to know in the chat, or I don't know if I can see that. I believe I can. In the chat, just drop where you guys are all from. I'd love to know just the cities that you guys are operating in, because just piques my curiosity a little bit to know that. But yeah, so there's a lot of other places here. And then there's one more I want to point out, which is Blogorama, and it has a little star next to it. If you are blogging on your core website, you the main business site for your business, you can actually list yourself here as well. It's a good place to get some exposure, but only if you have a blog. If you don't have a blog, this won't apply, which is why I wanted to star that. Okay, so we got Bolivar, we got Plattsburgh, New York. Okay, so you're not too far away over there. We got Morgantown, West Virginia. I love it. All right, perfect. A few other cities rolling in. Perfect. Awesome, guys. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. So again, there's a lot, but here's the thing. And again, this is not designed to overwhelm you, because I get, for a lot of you are like, holy crap, like take a screenshot. I got my next, quarter figured out of doing things. If we focus on just these 4 places, okay, Data Axle, which used to be called Info Group, I think is what it used to be called, Factual, Axiom, and Newstar. All right, these are the big 4 data aggregators in the world of local search. So most every site, and especially the smaller ones, they are going to pull their data from one or multiple of these 4, aggregate that aggregated data into their listings on their site. And so if we simply hit these 4, you're actually going to end up hitting most of them. So if I'm going to go back here just for a second, when we look at this infographic, you notice that the majority of the lines right here start from the very top, in the yellow, the green, the blue, and the teal color. Most of those lines start there. So if we simply focus on these 4 local data aggregators, we can actually hit the majority of places with our information without necessarily having to go to each one. Now, I do want to be absolutely critically clear about this, right? This is not a replacement for being on those, but it's the next best thing. Each of the sites that you saw listed there, you can actually go in and create your own business listing. And it's essentially claiming it, if you will. And by claiming it, what ends up happening is by claiming it, you actually have the ability to directly go in and modify information. Right? If I go to these 4 sites and I put my information in, I'm still subject to them updating it and them approving it and them saying, yeah, I want to put this information there, and then them disseminating it out. Plus, we then also have to wait for those other sites that it's disseminating information to also collect all of that data and for their places to update. So while this is the easy button to get on as many sites as possible, it's not necessarily a replacement for actually going to each of these ones that I have listed here. Now, the first question I usually get is, okay, well, which ones are more important than the other ones? Like, if I've only got some time, where do I focus? All right. And to be honest, the big ones that I would have you focus on outside of the big 4 that I just told you, which you're going to aggregate your data, is obviously Google My Business. This is the biggest by far. And we're going to go into a whole lot of detail about Google My Business specifically, because there's a lot that you can do to capitalize on that and drive more traffic. Number 2 is actually going to be Apple Maps Connect. So this is the business listing, or the Google My Business of Apple Maps. As crazy as it sounds, even though Apple Maps is not nearly as popular as Google Maps, it's still the 2nd largest and most visited site for iPhone users after Google Maps. So it is, and right now, the last study that I saw, the US market was averaging about 72% iPhone. So that means it is important if we want to be on there, if we know that that's the case. A couple others, Yelp for sure. Pros and cons, I have a love-hate relationship about Yelp, but at the end of the day, a lot of people still go to use it. And I would definitely hit up Super Pages for sure, because I think you get, again, twice that from there. And then one other thing is on here is Waze. What I like about Waze is that Waze has actually gotten very smart in understanding how do we capitalize or monopolize and actually increase the revenue in the business. And without getting into the details, this is not a paid advertising class, but you can actually pay to be seen on Waze. So as people are driving around town with their Waze app up, like, your business will pop up and show information there about it as they go around, and it's super cheap because they're still new at it, but it's a cool one for that. So if you focus on just those, that's going to be good. Again, and then if you do the big 4 that we have here, that's going to disseminate your information to every place else. But if you haven't already, again, I'll email you these slides if you send me a message, or grab a screenshot, or take your phones out and grab a picture of this right now, because I want you guys to have this list. To be honest, all of these on here are important, but the ones I just gave you are probably the most important. And then I would hit these 4 right here. Okay. So that's where I would start. Now, here's one of the most important things that you need to be doing if you're going to do local SEO, and you're going to do you want to show up in local search. And by the way, I made an assumption here, and this is my we all know what happens when we assume. SEO stands for search engine optimization. I assume most of you knew that. If you didn't, now you do. And what that basically just means is, how do I get myself to show up in search? Now, Google is, of course, still the most important search engine out there. And is still the primary driver of foot traffic and even web traffic at this point in time. So it's the one that we'll spend the most time on. But here's the other important thing. We need to standardize our listing details. Standardize our listing details. And what I mean by that is your name, address, phone number, website, hours, photos, and videos. All of them should be standard, the same thing across all of the platforms. And there's a couple of reasons that we want to do this. The most important reason is obviously just making sure that if someone goes to one place or the other, they see the same information. Because if we have different information out there on different listing sites, what's going to happen is people are going to get confused. Well, do I call that number or that number? Do I go to this website or that one? Is it at this address or is it at that address? Well, the pin shows it's in the mall. Is it in the mall or is it outside the mall? In an external building? Like it creates confusion, and the more confusion that we create for customers, the less likely they are to show up. But more importantly, even if they do show up, their bad experience of finding you wherever they found you, or their disconnected experience, is going to influence how they walk in that store. So if they had a good experience, it was easy, they found exactly what they wanted to, and they got to your store easily, guess what? They're going to walk in going, I'm ready to do some business. I'm going to buy some cards. I'm going to sell some cards. I'm going to be here, whatever it is that they're there to do. But if they come in having, driven around the parking lot 15 times trying to find you outside because one listing said outside, the other is, inside the mall, for example, now they're feeling frustrated and they're going to carry that in. And now your employees and you as owners have to deal with that frustration as well. And so it sounds like a little thing and it sounds like, well, it's not that big a deal, but it is. Now, the other thing that's really important about standardizing your listing details is that those big four that I just talked about and Google are also looking at what does each other say? What do these ones say is going on? And if they find consistently other places different information, they'll override it on their side. But what happens is if they're not getting the right information, they're less likely to show you in search results. They're less likely to push your information out because they don't always know if it's the most accurate. Whereas if we actually go into these sites, and again, those big four, plus all the ones that listed before, you just go to their website for that business and you'll look around. It's in a different place for every one of them, but you'll look around and there'll be a link somewhere on the site, usually either at the bottom or the top in the menu, for you as a business owner to log in and either claim your listing, modify your listing, or take care of the details of your listing in that capacity. All of them have that, okay? If we go in and we do that, especially at the big four and then also with Google, it signals to all of these different companies, hey, this is a business owner who's serious about showing up locally and search and map results. And because you're taking that initiative, what's going to happen is they're more likely to push your information out, and Google and Apple and Waze and all the other listing sources are seeing that consistency of information has been updated and it's there. And so they're also going to move you up in the rankings. Their algorithms account for that consistency. So it sounds, again, like maybe just a simple thing, but it actually has pretty profound and dramatic impacts if you simply do it the right way. Okay, so make sure you go through there and do that. Now, one thing I've seen done incorrectly, so please don't do this. If you're having an employee or a team member, perhaps you have someone on your team who's a bit more tech savvy, going in, and let's just say that they're going back to these big four to update the information again, right? If they're going in to do this, make sure that you've directed them on the exact information and give them instructions that if they find something different that you didn't give them information for, don't just randomly fill it out. All right. Because again, if you have inconsistent listings in these big four and Google, it's going to actually hurt you quite a bit. So make sure that you let them know. Because one of the things I've seen, unfortunately, one of our clients, they actually went in, they had an employee, and the employee went in and, with the best of intentions, this was not, purposeful, but there was questions in certain ones that they didn't have answers to. So they just started making things up. And that actually created an inconsistent set of listings, which actually ended up hurting them more than helping them. Right. And so when we go through that kind of stuff, we want to make sure, again, we tell them, and if we don't know what the information is, simply leave it off for right now. It's actually better to not put anything than to put different things in other places. So if you find something somewhere where it's like, hey, I need to put this information here, either choose what you're going to put there and then make sure it's the same across all of them. But if we make it different, again, we lose that standardization, which can hurt us in the long term. Okay, so next we're going to talk about Google My Business. This is hands down the most important piece of local search outside of what I just covered. And here's the thing. When we look at doing this, when we look at our business, when we look at Google My Business, At this point in time, the numbers vary, but approximately 80 to 85% of all searches done worldwide are done in Google. So having the information in Google and their My Business platform is clearly going to be the most important piece, which is why we'll spend the most time in this particular case here. So I'm not going to bore you with the super basics. If you haven't done this, it's really, really easy. Google literally wants you to fill out their information. They know that they're facing a battle with Apple and a battle with Facebook for for users' attention. And because they're fighting that battle on a day-to-day basis, and actually they're actually losing ground right now, they're trying to make it as easy as possible for everyone to stay inside the Google ecosystem. And so they've actually had a pretty big initiative for the last few years. And I actually learned about this from my friend who works at Google. And she was talking to me about this, and it totally makes sense. But there's an entire team of people at Google that just go around looking at how to make things easier for users. And whether that be businesses in the business platform, whether that be searching people, whether that be Gmail, whether that be, the whole G Suite platform, they just go around trying to say, how do we make it easier? And so in the Google My Business listing, they've made it super simple. On the left-hand side, just like you see in this screenshot, there is a series of tabs. And all you need to do is go through every single one of those tabs and fill out all the information that it asks for that is relevant to your business. Okay. Now, the only one, and I kind of messed up the screenshot here, so I apologize, but there's one that says website at the bottom of that list. That is, you don't need to do that one. That is, if you don't actually have a website, they give you this like free little platform to build a basic site through their platform. You're going to want, if you don't already have a website, you're going to want to have one. And as we go through this presentation, that will become more clear why, because your website actually has a massive influence on your local search results, even though it's not necessarily going to be showing up per se. In the local search results, it has a big impact. So we'll be talking more about that. But on the left-hand side, go through those tabs one by one and just fill out everything that they ask for. Literally, there's like, and if you're like looking at it going, well, that's not relevant to me, Bob, or that doesn't make sense, or I don't have information, then you go ahead and skip it. But the more information you put here, the more that it signals to Google that you're a legitimate business, legitimately trying to show up in Google local search results. And because you took the time to go through and put good information in here, it's actually going to reward you by pushing you up. And ideally, we want to be in the top 3, because those are what usually shows in Google search results, is those 3. If we follow through each of these steps, we can actually get ourselves there pretty quickly. And here's the great part. So if you're like, oh, this guy Bob talks with an East Coast speed. And by the way, if you're not following, I apologize. I get excited in case you haven't been able to tell yet. But if you're thinking this is so much stuff here, that's okay. Again, they're going to make it as easy as possible for you to go through here and do it. And you don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can always go back and edit and tweak. One of the best things that you can always be doing is making sure that your listings are always up to date. If you move or you change hours, there's all kinds of things. I'm going to even show you there's some bonus things that you can fill out to help boost your rankings. We'll talk about those in a little bit. And we'll go through those. But continuously updating this information at least once a quarter, if not once or twice a year, is going to benefit you. In fact, the more frequently you update the information, and I don't necessarily mean like change your phone number or change your website or things like that, but there's an area for posts so you can share information. If you're sharing to social media like Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or any of those, why not share it to here as well? And so we're gonna dive through some of these. So as we go through here, a couple of bonus points for you guys in here. There are several special attributes that you can actually fill out inside of Google. So let me close this here. Got too many things going on here. All right. So if you are a Black-owned business, you can go mark that. If you are a woman-led business, you can go mark that. If you are LGBTQ plus friendly, I think actually in Google they just call it LGBTQ friendly, not the plus sign or whatever. I don't know. But there's an option there for that. If you have COVID protocols, masks, no masks, distance, touchless payments, all those things, go through and fill those out. And accessibility information. Most of you, I assume if you're in the United States, at least if you're a local business, have to have some sort of local accessibility laws in place, which means more than likely your business is in some capacity or has some areas of accessibility. Talk about those. I know it sounds silly to put some of these things in here, and obviously don't lie about it, right? Like if you're not Black owned, don't say you are. If you're not LGBTQ friendly, don't say that you are. But if you are these things, put them in there, because Google's actually right now, for whatever reason, has decided that these special attributes are extra important, and the businesses that take the time, at least right now, to fill those out, get a little extra bonus boost in their rankings. Now, how much, I don't know, because we don't know, like Google doesn't share the exact formula with us. All we can do is say, well, I've seen this stuff based on the massive testing that we've done with all of our clients, right? But putting this information is in here. And what we generally find is that the more information you provide, the more likely you are to rank, along with other factors, but the more likely you are to rank on the top 3, because if Google has the choice between showing someone who's put all this information in and someone who hasn't, they're always going to take the person who has. Okay. A couple other things. Product photos. What is it that you sell? Right? Do you focus more in magic or flesh and blood or sports cards or whatever, or do you have everything? Right? So put product photos of the things that you offer, right? And as much as possible, try to show photos, and we'll go into more detail some other photos that are key, but try to show photos of like customers in there. They busted open a booster pack and they found some crazy rare card that wasn't supposed to be there, but somehow it was, or like, who knows, right? Like, the more photos that you show of happy people in your store, happy people doing things, and your employees also looking happy, hopefully they are, but the more that we show those things, the better off that our results are going to be on this, because Google, again, rewards us for putting more information in. Next is our product catalog. So this is only important if you actually have a website that has a store catalog. So if you're running a Shopify store, for example, or a WooCommerce or any other shopping platform, and you actually sell things online, you have the ability to link your shopping cart to your Google My Page listing to help push product through there. Now, this is going, to be honest, it's not a huge deal. But if you already got one of these stores and it's already doing this stuff for you, it's not that difficult when you're in the listing to attach your catalog to it as well. And put it in there. And again, more information in, the more likely we are to rank on Google. So that's also important as well. Okay. And then last here is videos. I don't remember exactly when, but it's relatively recently Google allowed you to start adding videos of things going on. And I highly recommend you use videos. We're actually going to talk about some details here in a second, but videos are also giving you bonus points. So all these things right now are giving us bonus points. And what I mean by that is, hey, we were already getting points for doing them in the first place, but for some reason right now in the formula, the algorithm from Google, these things have a little extra weight. Now, I don't know how long that will be for. That could end tomorrow, it could end Monday, it could end next year, it could never end. Maybe it's just always going to be the case. But at least for right now, it's there. So if we know that it's the case today, we might as well take advantage of it today for as long as it's going to be there, because none of these things are very difficult for us to do. To add, if you have all this stuff either shot, videos and photos, the catalog ready, you can probably finish all this in less than 30 minutes of uploading and connecting and all that. So for the boost that you'll get, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you do these things. But let's actually break down the key components of your Google My Business page. So when we look at our page, there are several factors we got to consider. And several things that are going to be what we call key components to you actually showing up in the best way possible. First and foremost is videos. Videos are actually increasing in their relevance to Google My Business listings and showing up, because people like to consume video. There's a reason that YouTube is as popular as it is. And it's not because the name is YouTube, right? It's because people like to watch videos, and they're going to want to watch videos about your store as well. So here's a list of videos. And by the way, I'll give you guys time for this whole slide to screenshot it when we're done. And again, I'll be happy to email a copy of this to you if you want later. But here's the videos that I recommend, or that my company 3DC recommends that you guys tackle. First and foremost is going to be an owner welcome video. The owner or owners, if there's multiple of you of the store, should have a video where you just say, hey, my name's Bob, and I just want to say welcome to my, card shop, Bob's Card Shop here in Buffalo, New York, or whatever, right? We specialize in A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We'd love to welcome you in. One of the biggest things that we like to do is we like to actually become friends with our customers, because just like you, we actually are participating in the game. Now, again, if that's true, great. If you don't, you're just like, hey, I hate magic, but I sell it, then don't say that, obviously. But I'm guessing for most of you guys, you wouldn't own a local game card shop if you didn't actually enjoy doing that stuff, would be my guess. So an owner welcome video, always going to be one of the most popular videos there, and ideally should be one of the first ones. Usually on the platform, you can choose what people see first in the order or the sequence that it goes in. The owner welcome video should be one of the very first videos they see, if not the very first thing, because again, it shows who you are, it shows that you're there. And as people, we like to connect with other people. this is the best way to do that. Okay. Number 2 is products. So obviously showcase what you have, right? Like, if you've got rare cards that you've been able to buy or acquire, or you sell on consignment or whatever it is, take pictures of those things. And this is where that updating comes in. If you sell it, remove that picture and replace it with something new. If you've got cool memorabilia that you sell, or comics or whatever, just let people know what it is that you actually do, so that when they're at home or they're on their phone looking and saying, is this the place I want to go or not? They're more likely to say, oh yeah, they do have the thing I'm looking for, or the thing I want to sell, or whatever it is. Okay. Customers, always show customers happy, have videos. If you do unboxings or unwrappings, or if you have tournaments or events as you see here, film those and let people see that stuff. Let them know what's going on there. If you do box breaks, that's huge right now in a lot of cases. Show those videos of the box breaks of what's going on. Okay. If you happen to have a rare card find, or you're doing that, like, showcase that. People want to know, and especially people in this space want to know what's going on, and they want to know, oh, if person A got a rare card in their box, then maybe I will too, which is going to improve my probability of me showing up at your store. Okay. If you do tournaments, if you do have any other viral social content. So if you post to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or anything and it goes viral, that video should be on your Google page too, because if it worked well there on social, it's going to work well on Google for you as well. Okay. So basically, if I can summarize this, just video everything that you do and go. Now, you don't need to go hire a video crew and get professional lights and like a crazy green screen and all that stuff, right? You don't have to get crazy with it, okay? Just your phone, some good lighting, which can be done with literally just a ring light if you want to. And a microphone. And by the way, you can literally go on Amazon and you can buy a $7 lapel mic. It clips in right here, and it's got a 10-foot cord that plugs into your phone. And now you've got great audio quality as well. And you can kind of wander around. And obviously they make nicer ones, like they make wireless ones for more. But the point is, you don't have to go spend a fortune necessarily to make this stuff look good, right? A $25 ring light, a $10 microphone, and your phone, and you're in business to make videos, right? Obviously, if you have the capability of doing something better, go for it. But I also don't want this to be something that's going to hold you back. Okay. Next is going to be photos. So when we look at photos, what do we want to put on there? Street view, always important. Make them understand if they look at the street view. Obviously, Google has its own street view, but let's be real. Sometimes those photos from the Google Street Card thing aren't the highest quality, or there's like the words are kind of blurred out, or it's like, is that the place or not, right? So show them what it is that you're doing. Like, get a street view. If you're in the mall, right, make a video of you walking in from each end, like the main entrance to your store, and just put it in like the hyperlapse so it goes, so they know where to go find you in the mall. If you're outside a mall and you're in one of the outcroppings, the outbuildings in the mall, right? Show them where it is. Have a picture of Google Maps and put a pin in it so it knows exactly where it is. Because let's be real, sometimes the actual address, the geo coordinates of the address don't always line up in these plazas and things. Again, make it easier for them to see, oh, this is what I'm looking for. Now I know from the street view, from them, exactly what it is I'm looking for. Again, improves the experience of them with your store. Next is obviously the shop interior. All the pictures of anything relevant to that you're going to want to take. I always include the owner and the team. This is one of those places where you update. Maybe, summertime, you've got some people coming in at college, they work for the summer, but then they bounce back out to college. So you remove them in the wintertime, but keep those pictures of you and the team there. And also make sure they're fresh. And please do not do the realtor photos where it's like, you from 1980 with like the laser beam background going on like this, right? And then they walk in and it's like, well, that was from like 30 years ago. What's going on, right? Don't do that. Get some professional photos taken. If you don't have a friend who's a photographer, you don't want to use your iPhone, you can literally head to Craigslist. And every single college or every single town that I've ever been to has a college somewhere nearby. And in one of those colleges, there's usually either a photography program or there's people who just like photography and they'll do it for cheap or sometimes even free just to have the experience built up, and you can get tons of photos. In fact, here in my little hometown that I'm in right now of Lockport, New York, I did a photo shoot, I think 2 years ago, and I found a guy, he literally delivered me 450 photos over 2 hours of shooting at various things, because we actually own a local business here as well. So he was shooting all of that for us. I got 450 for free. He said, I just want to be able to use your name and your company as an experience, and you read a little testimonial for me. I was like, no problem, right? So again, if you had the ability to have a professional photographer, you can afford to pay for one, always do that, right? Because you're going to get better quality. Let's be real. Like, you get what you pay for when it comes to this. But if, again, budgets are tight right now, this is a great way to get it for very inexpensive. Okay. Also on here, have photos of your hours. So if you have one of those little signs in your window that says this is our hours, or you want to have an image made in like Photoshop or whatever, but have a picture of the hours, again, it's just going to help people understand what's going on. Even though it's listed in Google itself, I always like to have a picture of it as well. Sometimes for people, it's just better to see it all at once. And also, when you're on your phone, I don't know if you've ever noticed it or not, when you load up your phone on Google My Business, it only gives you by default the hours for today or tomorrow if you're already closed. If I want to see all the hours, I have to go actually 2 clicks deep to get that information. And so sometimes having the hours picture right there is just faster and easier. And again, humans are generally more visual, so that's an easy thing for them too. Okay. Also, get photos of your team working with customers. They can even be just stills from the videos that you took in the first step here. If you have killer products, killer offers, you've got some super rare card, put pictures of it. It's a great thing to do. And most importantly, make sure the photos are high quality. Now, I don't mean you have to go get a DSLR and shoot with a Canon and crazy, just even with your phone is good. But what you don't want to post is if your shop is really dark or it's nighttime or whatever, right? Make sure it's well lit. It's easy to see what's going on. Don't post a street view from night. Do it in the twilight hour or when it's cloudy is actually the best time because it gives you the most consistent and even light throughout the photos. But just make sure the photos are high quality. Upload them in the highest quality that they will let you on Google. There is a limit. I forget what it is, but they'll tell you if it's too big and you just shrink it down a little bit. But again, most iPhones or Androids these days are going to take sufficient quality photos, right? Just make sure that they are actually high quality. Okay. Next. Reviews, and we're going to go into details on some reviews because this is one of the most critical components to your listing actually showing up. All the other things are great, but if we have 0 reviews, you can do everything else that I teach you, and you probably still won't show up in the top 3. In fact, you might not even show up in the top 10 just because you need to have reviews, right? But you want to have reviews on your FB business page, which is different than my Google My Business, but do it anyways. They're going to be good for Google Ads. They're also going to help us build custom audiences, budgets and locations and landing pages. There's a few other things here. Again, I'm going to get into more detail with that here in a few minutes. Okay. And then bonus features. On your Google My Business page, you have the ability to add these other bonus features, okay? So number 1 is a booking button. If you take appointments for things. If you don't, obviously that's no good, but there's a button. It will actually put a big blue button on your listing, and you can change what that button does, right? It can either call the store, it can be a booking button to a calendar. There's a text messaging or SMS button on there as well. There's an offers button. There's a whole bunch of different options. Pick the one that makes the most sense for your business right now and add that to there. It's a free resource for them to get in contact with you in some way. So utilize it. In addition, they also offer a text messaging platform within Google My Business itself. So what it'll do is you'll be able to actually do it one of 2 ways. Number 1, on your My Business platform, you can actually send messages back and forth via SMS within the platform itself, or you can add your cell phone and it's private. So no one's going to see it except for the Google My Business. And you can actually text back and forth while masking your cell phone number. So you don't have to give that out, but you can still send texts from that if you want to. A lot of local stores, what I know they do is they actually just get a cheap iPhone, used iPhone. That's the store phone. And then it's just there in the store. And that's the one that they use for back and forth. So whoever's working that day is responsible for texting if someone messages them. But it's a great way, especially with millennials and younger, they really want to text more often than call. So I would lean that direction over anything else. Okay. There's also offers. So if you want to offer coupons, discounts, one-offs, bonuses, anything of that nature, you can put those offers inside your Google My Business as well. This is especially great for Black Friday deals, which obviously be coming up real soon. Even Cyber Monday, I know it's a cyber thing, but guess what? People still come into local shops to buy on Monday because they didn't on Black Friday for whatever reason. And let's be real, people just like getting a good offer. So put it out there if you've got one. You can also obviously link in your product catalog, which you already told about. There's also for your phone, there's a Google My Business app. Which I highly recommend if you're going to be updating things on a regular basis. It just makes it a little bit easier. It's just an app on your phone. You load it up and you can edit and change all your information. You can upload photos and videos directly from your phone. So it makes it super, super easy there as well. And then the UTM Tracking Link. All right. So I'm going to talk about that here next. So this is the UTM Tracking Link. So this is a little bit more advanced, but it is a way for you, if you're utilizing Google Analytics inside your core website for your business, you can actually add this little bit of code to the back end of your link. And by adding it to the back end of your link, it actually signals to Google Analytics that the traffic came from your Google My Business page. Why would you want to do this? Well, it just helps to see if you're going to put forth all these changes and effort of everything that I'm going through for you right now, then it's going to help you to know that you've got the right things in the right place in the right way, and that where your traffic's coming from. So if your Google My Business skyrockets in rankings all of a sudden and you're getting a lot of traffic, it's going to be good to know that your website is getting some of that traffic from there as well. So this is going to help you track that. So literally you see the top part, which starts with the question mark, that whole thing gets added after your link. You see example of ours right there, go3dc.com/ and then we put question mark UTM source, blah, 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 right? And what it actually does is it, again, notates inside of analytics that, hey, this traffic came from my Google My Business page link. They'll still go directly to your core site or whatever site you link there. So there's no issues there. It's just also providing some additional context of where they came from to make tracking a little bit easier. Okay, so how do we get reviews at hyperspace speed? I hope you guys appreciate some of my nerdy jokes. If you do, just type in the chat, haha. It just makes me feel a little bit better, you know, that my cheesy humor was at least sort of noticed. And if not, you can just laugh at me. That's okay too. I can't see you, so it's all good. But hopefully this is all good stuff you guys are learning as we go along here. So how do we get reviews at hyperspace speed? Reviews, again, as I said, are one of the most important things that we can do as a local store owner to get our listing to move up in the rankings. The more reviews that we have, the better. Now, this is not just, hey, these are some good ideas. These are things that are actively being implemented by businesses that we work with that work. In fact, the best so far is actually these same things were used, and I'm going to go through a couple of them, were used by a local medical practice in New Jersey with 4 offices. Their 4 offices now contain more Google reviews than any other medical practice in the entire state of New Jersey. And this includes large conglomerate hospitals. This includes like large scale medical offices, like people with 10, 15 times as many doctors, but they're outranking them because they're implementing this kind of stuff. So get some pen and paper out if you weren't before. This is awesome stuff here. First thing is Incentivize review. So there's a lot of things that we can do in Incentivize. This one probably, in my opinion, works better than anything else. And it's combining both an offline with an online. So it's called the scratch off method. And so I included a little picture here. You can go to Amazon and you can buy scratch off stickers. So these are literally just stickers that you can put on anything, and then you get your coin out and you scratch off to see what's below it, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to buy some standard business cards, and you're going to have either random discounts, offers, specials, something that's going to incentivize them, something that they'd be like, oh, that's really valuable. I'm glad I got that. You're going to buy these stickers. You slap the sticker over whatever the prize is, and then you have your customers scratch off the scratchy part to reveal the prize. But they only get to scratch it off if they left you a review, and you can load up the reviews on your phone on your Google My Business page and actually see that they did it. This is a great way that does a couple of things. One, it gamifies it for the end users. So they're like, oh, this is cool. Like, I mean, let's be real. Like most of us still love scratching things off. So it's just kind of fun, right? It's like, oh, what am I going to get? I don't know, right? And number 2 is it incentivizes them to do something offline and take it online, which is only going to benefit your business. Okay. Next is going to be drawings and lotteries. So what you can often do, and this works great, is once a month or once a quarter or however often you want to, you say, I'm going to pick one random winner from everyone who left a Google review on My Business page, and you're going to win XYZ, whatever it is that makes sense for you. And you choose. Obviously, the bigger the prize is, the more likely you are to get more reviews. But just take a look and figure out what that needs to look like for your business. Or a lotteries can work as well. I do want to state real quick, and this is important, big stars, asterisks here. I am not an attorney. This is not legal advice. There are certain laws and rules you have to follow for drawings and lotteries, and they change from state to state, country to country, and sometimes even county to county and city to city. So I highly recommend, before implementing any sort of drawing or lottery, that you just confer with a local attorney. Usually you can go talk to one for free for 30 minutes. Just ask about if you want to do this, if it's okay. What are the rules in your area? I would hate for you guys to get in trouble with your local law enforcement over something as silly as this. I don't know the laws everywhere, so just ask and be sure. That's my end disclaimer star, fun stuff there. Okay. Next is gamify. So I like to say, how do we get our actual, get employees involved? Could it be additional bonuses? Could it be, hey, they get free product themselves? Could it be, hey, they get, an extra day off or whatever? The prizes don't matter in terms of what they actually are. What matters is getting your employees and your team on board with this process by saying, hey, I want to give you this bonus for getting X number of people to review, or at the end of the month, whoever has the most reviews tagged to themselves, they'll get this prize, whatever it is. But again, doing a successful review campaign is really going to be all about understanding at a deep level that your entire team needs to participate. Now, if it's just you, great. Well, then you just won the prize. Good for you, right? But if you have more than one person, everyone's got to be going the same direction, the same purpose, the same alignment, because when we're heading in that way, we just take a step in front of the other person and we get further as we go along. And that's what this is all about. That's how you're going to also see and gain a whole lot of reviews very quickly. Okay. Next could be a local round robin. So I see a lot of places, especially in smaller towns, for example, like where I'm at right here in Lockport, New York, there's not a ton of small local businesses, right? The population of the city is only about 25,000. So there's not a ton of them. But what I have seen is each of them go to each other and say, hey, we're all local. We all want to help each other. We can all leave reviews. I'll leave a review on yours if you leave a review on mine. And we just leave reviews for everyone on all the different businesses. Yeah, sure. It takes a little time. Can be a little bit annoying, but it's a great, easy way to get some reviews very quickly. Okay. Next is provide clear instructions and help your customers do this. I know it sounds silly and it might even be crazy, but a lot of people go, oh, leaving a review on where do I go or how do I do that? Right? That's how they're going to sound when you start asking for this stuff. So make it very easy. Say, hey, no worries. I'll walk you through it right now. Just open up your maps. Okay, click here and do that. Or offer a video for it. So record a video of you doing it and just, have a green screen and share behind you the process of you going through being a review. The crazy thing is that it's super simple, right? It's super simple. So there's no reason not to. And then I would also create a link on your site for it. So somewhere on your site, there should be a link that says, leave us a review. And it literally, when they click it, goes directly to your Google My Business review section, right? So if you don't know how to get there, log into an incognito or private browsing tab, do a search for your business, find it, then find the review page as though you were going to leave a review on there. And that link right there is when you want to put on there. So that goes, again, right into the review page for them to leave a review for your business. This will, I promise you, if you have even a modicum of traffic, you'll start getting some reviews pretty quickly. And then next is outbound call or text customers. So a lot of you probably have your customers' information, whether it be phone numbers or text messaging. Obviously, there are, again, some rules and laws around texts that are unsolicited that are changing right now. So make sure that you understand what are those and how do they impact you? Because again, I'm not an attorney, right? But outbound and especially if you're slow, right? If you're slow, start sending some texts if you can to your old customers or previous customers. Hey, so you were in the shop last week, you bought, a booster pack. If you had a great experience here, I'd love for you to leave a review and then put your link in to go right to your Google My Business page and leave that review. Okay. By doing that, what you're allowing to happen is you're allowing for it to be easy. They were already there. They bought something from you. So guess what? They probably wouldn't have bought from you if they didn't like your shop, your store, you, or whatever you had to offer. So these should be easy reviews that you can basically tee up and home run them all day long. Okay. And then the last thing on here, well, actually, not second to last thing is prize wheel. Dude, this works. I know it sounds cheesy, but it works incredibly well. Hell, hey, you're here in the store. If you leave a review before on Google before you leave, you get to spin the wheel and you get a discount your next time you come in, or a free something, or and by the way, guys, it doesn't have to necessarily be actual product, right? It could be like a patch with your store logo on it. It could be a patch with Magic the Gathering or Flesh and Blood on it. It could be a magnet or a set of stickers, or it could be, I don't know, you got to figure out whatever's going to incentivize your people in your local market the best. But offer them these things and spin the wheel. You get something free. Again, people love free stuff. So I promise you they'll take advantage of this. And then last but not least, is ask on social media. I know it seems super simple, but people sometimes try to overcomplicate this. Just go to your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your whatever, and say, hey, would you leave us a review if you liked our shop, or if you bought something here, or you had a good experience, or whatever. So just drop in there and ask for those reviews. This is how we're going to get a whole lot of them over the course of the next 3, 6, 12 months. And that's how you're going to really start to show up in the local search rankings. Okay. One last one, which is include it in your email signature. As a local store owner, whenever you send an email, it should say, hey, leave us a review with a little link that goes, again, directly to your Google My Business page. Now, while there's lots of different places to get reviews, I highly recommend focusing on one place. In this case, I think for a local shop, Google My Business is going to be your best bet. If you're an online shop, I'd probably say Facebook or potentially Yelp, depending on what kind of online business you are. But for local businesses with physical shops, Google My Business is where you're going to want to focus. And by the way, understand that as time rolls on, you will lose ranking if you're not continuing. So let's say you get 500 reviews over the next, the rest of 2021, and then you don't get any in 2022, you will fall off because the older that your reviews are, the less weight that they carry in Google's eyes, okay? All right, so the next question that I usually get from a lot of people is, how do I handle negative reviews? In fact, I even see someone dropped in here in this, and I get this question all the time, guys, because the first thing, in fact, one of the very first businesses that 3DC ever worked for, they were like, no, I'm not online because if I go online, someone might say something bad about my business. And they were literally terrified of the negativity that might spawn from being on there. So they just simply avoided it. But here's the deal. Just because you're not online or you're not monitoring or managing it doesn't mean that you might not get negative reviews. In fact, it takes almost no time at all for someone to go on and leave a negative review for you. And if you're not monitoring that, now there's no response. There's no your side of the story or anything going on. So it's actually worse for you. So how do we handle this? There's several steps that we can do to do this. And this is how I tell everyone to manage negative reviews. Number one, always respond to every negative review. I also recommend responding to all the positive ones as well, but I get that time can be, time can be a factor, especially if you're getting a lot of them. But ideally, we want to respond to all of them, but definitely the negative ones. The reason that people leave a negative review online, 9 times out of 10, is simply because they want to be heard. They want to know that they had a bad experience. It's not necessarily about actually complaining in most cases. It's about getting it off their chest and letting someone know. And they know that if they put it online, it will definitely be seen, which is what they're after. They're trying to get seen. So you responding is going to help them feel that. And in most cases, you're actually able to do a complete 180 and turn them around and get them to leave a positive review by responding in the right way. So how do we do that? Number one, take the high road. There's nothing worse than a local business owner or any business owner for that matter on their page, Google or Yelp or wherever, going, no, you're wrong. And this is how it went. And you're stupid. And you should never come to my store again. While that might be true, because look, I get that the customer is not always right. We all know that. But at the end of the day, they want to feel like they're right. So take the high road. Even if they were totally wrong, even if they just straight up lied about whatever they're saying there, which might happen, right? Take the high road and don't fall down into their level of a back and forth, because all that's going to happen is everyone who sees these negative reviews and your responses is now associating you going to that deeper level that they don't like with them. And all it does is it make them feel, holy crap, if I go to Bob's card shop and I don't do the right thing, he's going to come after me too, which means I probably don't want to go to his store because I'm going to avoid that possibility, right? So we don't want that to happen. Okay, take the high road. Offer to make it right if you can, right? So again, if they're being seen, they're being heard, and then you say, let me make it right for you, and whatever that takes, I promise you, most everyone's going to say, okay, sure, yes, please, thank you. How? What are we going to do, right? Work on it, figure it out. Now, there might be some cases where you can't, and that's okay. If you can't, you can't, but if you can, do it. Not everything can be a 5-star review, and a few negative reviews is not only a good thing, it's actually a great thing. If all your page has is positive reviews, then what starts to happen is people think, oh, they only put the good ones out there. They're hiding the bad ones so that they look good. It actually degrades the value in your customers' eyes of all of the good reviews. You could have 10,000 great reviews that are all 5 stars, but if you have 0 bad reviews, no one's going to trust any of those 10,000 because they're going to think either you paid for them, you bought them, you paid these folks off, or who knows, right? So having a few negative ones is always okay because it shows, hey, this person had a bad experience. But here's where it gets even better. If you roll in and you made it right and you said, hey, I'm so sorry you had a bad experience. I acknowledge that you felt this thing during your experience with us. And I don't want you to feel that when you're in my store. I want to make this right by doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? what ends up happening is someone who comes to that store looks at it online and goes, oh, wow. Like if I do have a bad experience, the owner, the store people, the employees, they care about me, right? They care about this happening. So this is how we do this. Now, I want to share with you guys a quick story about the ultimate of customer service and how important it is so that you take home this idea. Zappos, you may have heard this story or not, but Zappos is world renowned for the customer service. And Tony Hsieh, before he passed away, was at a party one time, and a woman was like, I want pizza. She's like drunk out of her mind. She's like, I want pizza. So she's like, I'm going to call my Zappos girl. And she literally picks up her cell phone and she dials the Zappos customer support, gets her customer girl on the phone and says, I want pizza. And he's just sitting there going, okay, let's see how this goes, right? And she has no idea who he is. And so she goes, well, where are you? Okay, and what do you want? How many pizzas do you want? And so she gives all the details. She says, all right, I'm going to call you right back in 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, she goes, hey, I found you a local pizza place. It has 4.8 out of 5 stars and 300 reviews. There's 6 pepperoni pizzas on their way to the address that you gave me. They'll be there in 25 minutes. Thank you so much for calling Zappos. And Tony was just sitting there going, wow, that's customer service. Now, as a local business owner, we may not be able to have that level of customer service, right? Because we're not operating usually at margins in the millions, okay? But it doesn't mean that we can't create that same feeling with us. And by responding to negative reviews, we create the opportunity for people to feel like this store is a safe space to be in. And because it's a safe space, I'm going to buy more. I'm more likely to visit. I'm more likely to become a raving fan of your business because you created the opportunity for that. So not only can negative reviews be positive for us in the long term, if we do the right thing, the best thing that we can do is after you go back, if you've made it right and they had a great experience, is to ask them to go back and leave a second review. Don't delete the first one, leave a second review and say, hey, I actually was the one who left the negative review, went back, Bob made it right. He did all the right things and I'm so happy. I can't believe he did that for me. And like that right there will simply turn anyone else around who might've been seeing a negative review going, I don't know. And then they see someone else saying, I was pissed and this person took care of me and made it better, then they're in. Right? You're golden from that point forward. So it's a really, really easy way to make all of that happen. Okay. All right. So that's sort of the Google My Business and the local search pieces. Now, after reviews themselves, the next most important thing that you can have inside your page is actually your website, but specifically, you want to have backlinks. Now, this is something that we actually worked a lot with Channel Fireball on, and we've seen pretty dramatic results by implementing some of the basic things that we're going to talk about right here. So if you don't know what a backlink is, a backlink is simply a link on somebody else's website pointing back to your website. That's all it is. So, hey, www.go3dc.com is on whatever website. When it links back, that's a backlink. These backlinks are the second most important thing in Google's algorithm for determining where you rank in search, but they're also the second most important thing in determining where you rank in local results as well. So having a website is critical, and having backlinks to your website is also critical to moving up. Now, if you're in a local market where no one's doing anything right, like none of them have filled out their page, none of them have photos or videos or whatever, you can probably still get by with just your website and no backlinks, and you'll probably be fine. But if you're in a more competitive market, or you're in a place where there's a lot of your kind of shop around, like, even if it's not necessarily next door, but even within 100-mile radius or so, this is going to set you apart. This is going to set your My Business listing apart, and it's going to help you move up in the rankings, which should, again, increase overall traffic. So the idea that we want to do is go out and do a link building strategy, which means we go out to the web and we want to find as many websites as possible and have them link back to our site. But it's not just about as many as possible, it's also about quality. So I want to walk through a couple of things in relation to this. First, this is the average number of backlinks. And now this is across all search results, right? So take that in context. But the average number of backlinks per site and their position on Google. And you'll notice that as you approach the first position, those are the folks who have the most backlinks. This is not by chance, because Google's algorithm promotes those who have more backlinks. So one of the major things that we did with Channel Fireball was say, hey, we need to improve your backlinks. So we started going through and looking at it, and I'm going to share with you guys some of the strategies that we use to identify that with them and start improving the backlinks. Now, before you freak out and go, oh my God, Bob, there's no way I'm going to have 35,000 backlinks. That's insane. You're not going to need, as a local business, you're not going to need 35,000. Even if you had 100 or even like to 500 at the most, you're probably going to be crushing your competition because not that many local businesses even think about doing this process. Okay. But now if you're a nationwide business like Channel Fireball or even worldwide like Channel Fireball, then obviously we need to have a whole lot more links. Why? Because we're competing on a global scale, not a local scale. So adjust these numbers from there. But the point of this illustration was just to say, hey, the more backlinks you have, the more likely you are to be in the top position. So quality over quantity. Okay. Quantity still helps, but quality will always be better. So higher the quality of the link. And I'll talk about quality here in a minute. So how you can actually understand, hey, what is a quality link and the domain authority and things of that nature. But quality is still, one quality link is worth, depends on the ranking of the thing, but something with a high QA score on Google a DA, domain authority score on Google is worth, 3, 5, 10, sometimes 50 low quality backlinks. And if you're going out there and you look for a backlink provider, this is something that's really important. Most of the cheap people, the inexpensive ones are like, I'll get you 100 links a month for only, $50 a month, right? They're going out there and they're getting you quantity, tons of low quality backlinks, right? Now, quantity is important, but a good backlink from a good site is going to carry a whole lot more weight than anything else. So I would highly recommend that we look at quality over quantity in most cases. They must be what's called do follow. If you're getting a backlinks, there's two kinds. There's no follow and do follow, or just follow, sometimes it's called, okay? No follow means, hey, this is a link to this site, but from a search engine standpoint, I do not want it to count, right? So having a no follow link doesn't actually help you from an SEO. Yeah, it's great from like a traffic and getting to your website type deal, but from an actual SEO perspective, it's not gonna help your local search or your national search at all, okay? So they have to be follow or do follow links, right? Next is you gotta play by the rules. And I'll talk a little bit about the rules here in a minute, but there's tons of black hat strategies. There's tons of gray hat strategies. These are things that people have figured out work if we do them, but are technically outside the rules, or even in some cases, a violation of the rules set forth by Google themselves. You do not want to do anything of that nature. And here's why. If you start linking to your website, okay, and you start doing gray or even black hat strategies to get above the fold and start getting more traction, what can happen is Google look, they hire some of the smartest people in the world to work for them. They're going to figure it out. And when they do, they permanently sandbox your site. What that means is your site will oftentimes no longer show up in Google ever again. You cannot repeal the decision. You cannot get it back. In most cases, I've seen one person out of the thousands happen to once. One person got it back. And the only reason they did is because I'm pretty sure that like their best friends is good friends with the CEO of Google. And that's about the only reason I think it got back, but I can't prove that, right? But let's be real. There's no getting it back. You can't reverse the decision. You can't appeal it. There's not a website to go to and say, oh, sorry, my bad, right? Like you're done. Now your site will never show up in Google again. And that includes if your My Business listing is attached to your website, which it should be, your My Business listing, gone too. So don't do that. I do not want you to do that. Play by the rules, stick to it. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it's going to take more time, but it will be worth it in the long term. And that's what we're here for. We're not here for the quick win. We're here for the long term, right? And again, this is a long-term play. Just like I said, long-term play. So one other thing is ranking power. When we look at having links, so remember I said quality is better than quantity. Not only is that true in terms of the total number of links, but it's also true in the total number of links from a single domain, okay? So when we look at the number of links and how much weight, right, or ranking power that gets us, the first link from a URL gives us the most weight, and every subsequent link gives us subsequently less. And actually, after you go past a certain number, we don't know that exact number yet. Google's never told us, but after a certain number, it's an infinitesimal amount of ranking power. So I'm not saying it doesn't help to have, 1 million links from one website, but it's also each one carries less and less and less and less. So you're actually better to see a bunch of links from a bunch of sites and only have 1 or 2 at each of them than have 10 million at one site and none from any place else, right? It's going to help you basically boost up your rankings a little bit. And I'll show you guys what that looks here like in a minute. But when we look at link building, I want you to understand link building the right way, the wrong way, and the reality, okay? So ideally, we want to create our own unique Instagram and quality content. right? Sorry, that's not what I meant to say. Our own unique, insightful content. I see insightful and think Instagram because I'm a marketer. That's just what I do. But yeah, we want to create our own unique and insightful quality content. One of the reasons that Channel Fireball has done such a great job of boosting up their rankings is not necessarily because our company is fantastic at what we do, although we are. It's also because they create great content. They put out a lot of amazing content. In fact, most of you are probably here because of their great content, right? So the more that you can create your own insightful, unique quality content, the better off you're going to be in a link building strategy. Number two is building genuine, engaged community that interacts with your website and each other. The more that you do that, the more people like comment on your posts, engage with you, buy things from you. If you have a shop, like an online, like a Shopify or online store, the more that those things happen, the more that the links are going to flow in for you. Promoting your website to relevant people in a genuine, personal way by writing personalized messages. Nothing pisses me off more as a business owner than getting a generic email that I know that they BCC'd like 800 people on saying, "Can I put a link on your website?" No, you can't. Why? Right? Who are you? Why do I want to put it on? Like, what's in it for me? Help me understand that. Write me an actual email. Call me. Text me. Send something to me. Don't just say, "Can I put a link on your website?" Because no, you can't. Right? And that's how most people are thinking when they approach this. But if they simply flip the script a little bit and they did it a little bit differently, they wouldn't have that happen. Okay. And then using approaches that are scalable and scaled up. In other words, mailing 10 people who are relevant to hearing your message versus spamming 1,000 with a generic. It's always going to be better if you can personalize the message to them to request a link on a site. It's always going to work better for you long term. Okay. Now, the flip side of this is buying links. It is possible to buy links to your site. Now, here's the thing. When you buy links, you got to be very careful where you buy them from. There are what we call link farms, or there's another word for it, I'm totally forgetting right now, but basically they're websites, and all these sites do is they go out there, they pump out a lot of content about random things, they get a good ranking, and then they sell links to 10,000, 100,000, a million people. And what happens is Google is looking for that to happen. And the moment it does, that link on that site that's basically selling links, because Google doesn't want you to be buying links. They want them to happen naturally and organically. The moment Google's determined that site is selling links, every link on that site actually reduces your ranking power. So it ends up having a negative impact on your results, not a positive impact. Right now, some companies, including ours, will go out and we will buy links. So if we're doing a link building strategy for you, we will go buy links. But here's the thing. If you're buying a link for $5 versus 500 versus 5,000, there's a difference. So if we're going to buy links, we're only buying them from super high quality sources that we know are not going to be, they're not going to get flagged and turned into spam, because they're either well-established sites, they've got a lot of credibility, they're connections to our industry that we've already made, or something of that nature. So buying links is fine. You can do it. It's not what Google would like us to do. So if you do it, you have to do it the right way, which means don't go buy one of those cheap link packages from someone for 10, 20, 30, or even $100 a month, because chances are they're putting your links on bad sites that are actually going to potentially hurt you long-term, not help you. Okay. Next, you do not want to inject hidden links into a website that you do not own by exploiting security flaws. All right. Our business operates and runs lots of WordPress sites. And on a daily basis, I get hundreds of submissions through this way, through the WordPress comment system, because it's a security flaw in the WordPress platform, right? And yes, there's ways to handle that. I know that, and they're implemented, but even still, some of them get through nonetheless. And guess what? That's a spammy way to do it. It doesn't work really well, and it doesn't help. So don't do that in your business. And for the love of God, do not, under any circumstance, put links on a site with like a white background with white text so that you can't see it. That will get you red flagged. And if you continue to do it, you will get sandboxed, just like for doing black hat stuff. It's no good. Don't do it. Okay. Next, don't overuse keyword-driven anchor text in a link building. So in other words, if my anchor text is, buy Magic the Gathering cards in Lockport, New York, I'm not going to use that 15 times in one article because it doesn't make sense unless the article is like 40,000 words long, right? Use your anchor, your text sparingly, enough to make it make sense in the context of the content, but not so much that Google goes, okay, yeah, we got it, because it actually works to hurt you again, not help you, right? Don't spam links on one site. unless you own the site or it's creating some sort of API that's pushing links out in that capacity, which is popular in a lot of forums. Different story there, but just on a normal like blogging site or content site, if you start generating tons of links, it's actually going to hurt you long term. And again, remember that graph I showed you where it's like bam, bam, that's how your link power goes. So there's not really any reason to do it anyways. And then again, buying for quantity instead of quality. If you've only got a little bit of money to spend on buying backlinks, find the best quality, not the most quantity. It will help you long term a whole lot better. Okay, so real life example. This is two different competitors. One of these you guys know, one of them you might not. Actually, you might know both of these players. Doesn't really matter who they are for right now, but I wanted to point out something. So the domain rating, this is how authoritative on a 1 to 100 scale the website is. The only sites that get up close to 100 are like Wall Street Journal, New York Times, WebMD, Wikipedia, most local newspaper websites, government education sites or .gov or .edu sites. Those all have high domain authority, right? As a business, if we can be anywhere between 60 and 80, we're crushing it. If you're below that, that's okay. But obviously we want to be between 60 to 80 is good. The higher the number, the better. Now you notice something about these two sites here. The top one has 3,600 different websites and only 3 million backlinks. The bottom one has 2,600 websites, but 55 million backlinks. But the difference between these two sites in their domain ranking is only a 62 to a 74. So when we look at this, the bottom site has 95% more backlinks, but only a 19% better domain rating. So remember I was talking about that ranking power and how important it was to have links from a lot of different sites. Notice that the top website has more linking websites. So even though they've got 95% less backlinks, they're getting more juice, more ranking power because they've got more sites linking to them. So this is where we talk about quantity can become important, and it still is important, but quality matters still as well. Okay. So here are some quick and easy wins when it comes to getting backlinks. And I am starting to run out of time here a little bit, so I'm going to go through these a little bit fast. Again, if you need this stuff, email me. I'll give you my email address here in a little bit. But these are some places that you can get local backlinks very easily and very quickly as you go through here. So Chamber of Commerce, any nearby businesses, if you're in a business improvement district, any sort of licensing bureau, but if you have to have that in your area, trade associations, any of your resellers of your product, if you have that, vendors, if you buy things from people, ask them for links, manufacturers, other affiliates, and even local event sponsorships. I love local event sponsorships because almost always those events are also covered by the news, which means I'll usually get a link on a news site, which is very high quality as well. So not only am I getting the local exposure from the event itself, I'm getting the backlink exposure from that as well. So I know there's a lot there. Again, I'll send these out for you guys. I went a little bit long here. Other terms, things that you can do for long-term backlinking. These are all great resources. So guest blogs on relevant sites, getting published in any sort of news, even your local newspaper is fine. Forbes Council. This is a great one. If you run a business, go Google search Forbes Councils. Usually for a modest fee of like $1,000 to $2,000 a year, you can join a council if they have one that's relevant to you. And it actually allows you to publish directly on Forbes.com, which with a backlink to your site. So that's very helpful. Podcasts, YouTube shows, any TV shows if you can, forums and Reddit. Reddit was one of the biggest for Channel Fireball, in fact. We were able to increase it from not even the top 10 to I believe right now it's number 6, number 5 in terms of backlinks to their site, and it's driving a ton of stuff. Okay, Mashi said I can have a little extra time, so great. I'll slow it down just a little bit. Thanks, Mashi. Cool. So here's some other things to get backlinks. So if you're going out there to ask for backlinks, you've got to give people a reason to want to do it for you. So some things that are important. Think about anything that's newsworthy, right? So maybe there's new magic cards coming out. There's some rare cards coming out. The Black Lotus breaks another record or whatever it's going to be, right? Things like that could be important to get backlinks. Anything funny or controversial, people love reading about. Any sort of data visualization. So think infographics, okay? People love those things. Anything talking about the competition. Hey, there's a new startup that's trying to compete with Wizards of the Coast, or hey, why Hearthstone sucks and you should be buying magic cards or whatever it's going to be, right? Like anything like that is great. Anything that's ego bait. I almost didn't put this in here, but it works really, really well. So I did. if you're going out to another business and you're saying, hey, I want you to link here, stroke their ego a bit. Like if I was going to go to Moshi and say, hey, Moshi, I really want you guys in Channel Fireball to put a link back to my site. I'm going to say, you guys are like amazing marketers. You're always putting out great content. Your visuals are great. Your logo rebranding was phenomenal. Like, I'm going to stroke his ego a little bit, right? Because he's going to be like, yeah, you're right. It is good stuff, right? And in that frame, he's more likely to say yes. And if I go, hey, I don't really like you guys, but can you put a link on my site anyways? Like, he's going to be like, why? Right? So think about these kinds of things as we go, and you're hired. I'll take it, Mashi. I'll take the link. But yeah, so it sounds cheesy, and I get it. And look, if you do it just to give them platitudes, it's not going to work, right? So do it in a genuine, sincere, authentic way, and it will help. It will only help you if you do it that way. But if you do it like, hey, you're really awesome and good and stuff, can I get it? No. Be legitimate about it, okay? And then any sort of long form detailed content. Google loves long form content. Other sites love long form content. And as weird as it sounds, people love long form content. So give that long form content to someone else you want to link on, especially if it's a high domain authority, and it will only help you. So when you get these links, where should they be going to? Where should we be pushing them to, right? A couple of places. Number one, always get links to your homepage. Obviously, your homepage should have the most details around who you are, what you do, how you do it, and who you help. Links to any what we call deep pages on your site. This could be products. This could be categories if you have an actual store. This could also be blog content. This could be details around other strategies that you're doing. It could be events or tournaments that you run. Any sort of, and I say basically when I say deep, anything below your homepage that's inside there. Get links to those, again, if it makes sense or you want to promote that kind of content, right? Links should contain your brand or company name. So when you get a link to your site on somebody else's site, don't just have it say www.go3dc.com, have it say 3 Degrees Consulting - your marketing fiduciaries. That's our name. Like that's our tagline. And then it's that whole thing is a link to my actual site, because no one cares about reading your URL. But if they see your brand name in their head, that branding is going to help you long-term, okay? And then links that contain the keywords that you're targeting, always a good thing, right? So if you're targeting the keyword flesh and blood cards in Lockport, New York, right? Or best, game card shop, or best trading card shop, or best comic book store in, your town, have that link, the name, instead of just being your company, but best comic book store in Lockport, New York, your company name. I know that's a long thing to put, but that keyword will also help in boosting your rankings. If someone searches for that, you're more likely to show up in the local search results because of that. So just some ideas for that. All right. And then the last few things that I want to go through here are just in relation to your website. If you guys don't have a website, you need to. You absolutely have to. It's critical to have a website if you don't already. If you have one, but you don't pay attention to it, it's also critical, because those backlinks, guess where they go? They don't go to your My Business page. They don't go to your local search results. They need to go to your website. Your website is linked on your Google My Business, and that's how this circle completes itself, right? So we have to have all of these things. Now, your website matters a lot. So a few things you've got to make sure your website needs to have, and these are all things that my company is more than happy to help with you, or take a review of your site if you want to, just reach out to me, but needs to be mobile friendly. This is super, 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 super important, okay? Mobile friendly. In June of 2021, this year, just a few months ago, Google implemented a new massive algorithm change that if your site loads up in less than 2.5 seconds for the main image of the site, all right, and less than 3.5 seconds as a whole, you start to become, less than 4 seconds as a whole, I believe it is, you get penalized, and this is on mobile specifically, you get penalized in your search rankings. And this includes your local search rankings as well. So your website needs to be mobile friendly, and it needs to load up fast. Google gives you a tool. You just search Google Page Speed Analyzer. It will give you a tool that will analyze your page and tell you what's good and bad, how fast it's loading, and give you a score between 0 and 100, how good you are. If you have a low score, you need to get your site to be a higher score, or you're actually not, all the other things are not going to have nearly as much impact on your rankings, okay? Great content. This should be straightforward. Seems kind of like we've already talked about this, but you got to blog, you got to put out information, good content, have people write things. One of the best things I see local card shops do is give every employee the task of writing one article between 700 and 1,000 words per month, right? Or per week, depending on how many employees you have. And by the end of the year, if you can get, let's just say you have 4 employees, for example, and I don't know if you do or not, but let's just say you did, you're getting 4 articles a month. If you only got 2, okay, they each write 2, but the goal should be at least once a week to put content out on your site. That's going to help you, again, push up the rankings as time goes on. All right. Next is a location page or pages. You should have on your website a page specifically dedicated to here's where we are located. Here's a picture of the storefront. Here's the address. Here's a link to the Google Maps if you want to come find us. Here's the phone number to call. Here's the address typed out. All of that stuff should be there on a page. If you have more than one location in your store, every location should have its own page with that details. They should not be on the same page. You can have one page with all your locations, or you can have one page that says, hey, where are you? And it goes to that page, but each location should be on its own page for Google's purposes in terms of best SEO efforts for your business. Okay. And then next is pretty straightforward. Obviously, modern design, easy navigation. If you ever want to know if your site feels modern and is easy to navigate, don't assume you know. Give it to some friends and then watch over their shoulder on how they use it. You'll learn a whole lot about what usability really means at that point in time. Backlinks, which you already talked about, so I'm not going to go through that. And then keyword optimization. So find your local keywords, find the things that make the most sense, the things that are going to drive traffic in your door, and write content with those keywords in it, and get backlinks with those keywords in it to help you boost what you do. But most importantly, content is still king. It is the most important thing you can do on your site outside of backlinking, okay, to get there. But notice a big yellow thing. Don't find out here that no one cares about your content. So find your audience. You should already know who that is, more than likely. Create your content. Find the angle, which means, hey, I'm talking about this angle or that angle or this or that or whatever it's going to be, right? And then put it out in different places to see what people think. Then if it does well, you get a lot of traffic, you get a lot of shares, comments on social, whatever it is, then that content can become great content to seek backlinks for because you already know it's popular. So if it's popular with your audience, when you go to get backlinks for it, it's going to be popular with their audience because obviously you're going to be trying to drive the same kinds of people to your site. Okay. So content, again, super important. Ideally, again, once a week with between 700 and 1,000 words per article is going to be the goal. More is always better, but once a week is a good starting point if you're there. And if you can't get, if you're like, Bob, that's still too much for me right now, no problem. Once a month, is good. Like just try to be consistent. That's the more important part. Consistency is more important than frequency. That will help you. Okay, so I know I went a little bit over. So Mashi and Dennis and team, thank you guys for allowing that to happen. This is my contact information. As I said, feel free to go to our website. That's my email address there directly to me. If you would like a copy of these slides, please just shoot me an email that says, hey, I was on the Channel Fireball, the local game store conference call, and I'd love the slides, and I'll be happy to email them to you from there. And I'm going to drop in for any questions. Let's see here.
Hey, Bob, one thing I did want to point out, just because it was such a huge part of what you were talking about, is if you are on the Channel Fireball Marketplace, you have the opportunity to create your own store page on the Marketplace, and you can throw your URL on there. So we will backlink to whatever website you're on. You will get a Channel Fireball backlink built in on the Channel Fireball Marketplace. And that was because Bob, you taught us about the importance of backlinking. So we want to provide that for all the retailers on our platform. So a number of questions I can shoot you with if you're good with it. Do multiple links on the same page count as multiple backlinks or just one?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about that, but yes, they do count as multiple backlinks from the same page, as long as they're all do follow. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is what you don't want to have happen is on one page, not a website, but a single page within that website. You don't want to have 3, 4, 5, 6 links to your site there. Because what will happen is Google will say, wait, why are all of these links from the same one page on this website? You'd be better to have 6 different pages with 6 different links and one link in each page versus the other way around. It's going to be more, that's going to carry more weight with Google. Because again, not only are they counting how many links per URL or root domain, they're also counting how many per page, and each page has a subsequently less weight for it as well.
And I think you covered this.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I think you covered this one already. What can I do if I feel like the negative review is disingenuous? It sounds like you treat all the negative reviews, kind of you engage it the same way. Is that the kind of the game plan there?
It is. Look, so here's the thing. And this is the frustrating part about running online, but it's the reality of the world. when we look at doing this, we're going to get negative reviews, and some of them are going to be complete BS. In fact, one of the very first digital courses that I ever launched, this lady wrote a nasty review about me on Angie's List, and I got freaking pissed. I was like, F you, like I logged into your account. I can see this IP address at this date and this time logged in. So I know you had access to it. It's BS. Like I said all that out loud. I was like, okay, thank you for writing and like, just take a deep breath. Look, I know it's as an owner, because it's us, right? We've poured our heart and soul into building this thing. And then for someone to roll along, and especially if it's disingenuous, just because they want to be heard, or they're angry, or they got in a fight with their spouse that day, whatever it doesn't matter, right? They got a ticket on the way to your store. So now they're already pissed when they go there, like, who knows, right? But I promise you this. If you always take the high road and you come back, I want you to so picture, imagine, Mashi, I'm going to have you play with me because I can only see you. I want you to imagine you're holding a towel like this, right? Okay.
All right.
So you got your towel, right? So everyone it sounds crazy, but do this. Now, let one side of the towel drop and rotate your hand so your towel's hanging down like this. Put your arm like this and drape it over your arm, just like a butler would, right?
There we go.
Every time you go to write a review, I want you to think this visual. I'm here to serve. What can I do for you? How do I make this better? How do I make it right? How can I make your day, your experience, or whatever with my shop better? And I promise you this, if you treat every negative review, whether it's genuine or not, with the same mental attitude, it will show in all your responses. And when people look at those negative reviews and they see you coming back saying, hey, I'm sorry you had a bad experience, let me make it right. They're like, that's the kind of business I want to do business with. That's the kind of person I want to be around. That's who I want to be. That's my people, right? Now, there's going to be some people that are going to be like, that's bullshit, whatever, right? Like, it's going to happen, right? But I promise you, if you take it in that direction, you will see that the results long-term will be way more beneficial. And take it from this. There's a company that hired me to speak. I've done thousands of hours for them. And they are militant about their reputation online, militant in an industry that genuinely thrives with negative reviews. In fact, so much so that 3 of their competitors were shut down by the FTC for bad practices. Okay. Wow. Right. They never once had a negative review that wasn't resolved until about a year ago. They finally got their first one. Right. And every other negative review on every scam site, posting site, everywhere, it's here's a bad review, here's a response. And I guarantee you, because I watched this happen with these folks, these people are selling a $20,000 to $50,000 coaching course. Okay. All the time, people were like, I looked you up and I saw your reviews and I saw that everyone was saying good things about you. And that's one of the reasons I'm buying today. So it will only benefit you long term.
Yeah, I think, and anyone who's done CS or worked in the restaurant industry or doing that, it feels personal, especially when it's your business and your store or your event or whatever it is, but it's not personal. And you've got to find a way to like put that in there, say, this isn't personal. And it's an opportunity. If once you start thinking about it, and you touched on this, Bob, where those negative reviews, they lend so much more credence to the positive reviews too. So every one of those is an opportunity. So rather than get sucked into that personal attack feeling, trying to take advantage of the opportunity is huge. It's just Absolutely. Huge. And you'd be foolish to walk away from it. Here's a very specific question. Oops, I just lost it. Oh, can you make Google listings for single cards? Magic cards, Pokemon cards, individual items like that. And of course, the other thing here that we all need to keep in mind as retailers is there are a lot of SKUs in Magic, like so many in the history of the game, much less trying to pile on things like Pokemon, all that. So it's a lot of SKUs, but the question was, can you make Google listings for single cards?
The short answer to that is no. Google, because what you have to do is you have to actually prove that you're a legitimate business. So if you put a single card out there as a listing and then Google wants to verify it, you're not going to be able to have any documentation to prove that that's a legitimate business, because it's not, right? Also, even if you could, I wouldn't do it anyways, simply because the amount of effort that's going to go into making my business listing actually rank sufficiently is never worth it. What you should do instead is have your local store Google My Business. In your store, there's the ability to create posts. create posts for all of those cards that are the major ones that you want to have or feature, or that you would have created those listings for that way. It's essentially the same idea, but within your store, it'll actually gain you more traction than anything else. And Google's going to love that you're posting out good content. Now, don't just go post a card for the sake of posting a card, right? Talk about like, here's 3 ways to use this card in a deck, or the best 5 places to find this card, or, why you need to stop in our shop because we've got 5,000 of them. We got to, they got to go today, or whatever it's going to be. But something of that nature is going to get you more bang for your buck.
Perfect. So this is where we're kind of tying in that content piece to it. We'll get you out of here on this one, Bob. How many hours a week does it typically take to manage SEO? Because, and this is something when you look at this presentation, which was incredibly dense, there was so much information. I think that, there's a bit of an intimidation factor. If you're just getting started there, it sounds like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. There's backlinking, there's SEO, there's, how am I going to rank this? I got to go to the big 4 and fill all this out. Like, I got to start. What do I do? Oh my gosh, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Am I now in the business of managing SEO and ranking and answering reviews, and I'm not selling, cards anymore?
Yeah. And I absolutely get that. So what I want you to take away from my presentation, and I should have said this from the start and I didn't, but if you took away one tip, just one thing, and you implement just that one thing, you'll start to see better results over just one of the things that I gave you. Obviously, if you do more, there's more. So how much time does it take? The answer is it depends. It's going to be non-linear. Like, we like to think, if I put in 3 hours a week, I'll get there, right? But the truth is, the biggest amount of time is going to be in the upfront investment to get all of your listings out there, make sure the information matches, make sure all of this is good to go. And all this is happening because if you do all of that the right way, everything else becomes easier long-term. So how much time? It's hard for me to say. I'm really fast at this because I just type and I know it, right? So it probably takes me way less. So I would say, hey, can you dedicate 2 to 3 hours a week right now to getting things going? And if so, great. Or 5 hours or 10 hours or however much time you have, and just go through everything and start chunking off piece by piece and piece. What you'll find is that there's going to be a lot to start with. And as time goes on, it's going to get less and less and less. And then it's going to be a baseline. Realistically, it should only take 5 hours a week tops to manage this local search process. And I want to be very clear about that. Now, if we're talking about throwing in more backlinks, obviously, well, how many people am I reaching out to? How many emails am I sending off? That's going to impact this. If we're talking about actually like a dedicated backlink strategy, like what we would do for our clients is like, hey, we're actually going to go out there and negotiate on your back. That's going to obviously take more time. So the more layers you implement, the more it's going to be there. But I would say in the sequence of things that I gave you, I went from the order of most important to least important. Right. So this presentation was organized so that if I didn't cover something at the end, it was the least important. But the stuff at the beginning is most important. So go through that sort of in order and execute those things as much as you possibly can. And again, you'll start to realize that it scales back. Now, the other thing that's going to impact this is over time, how many more, like, do you want to add more photos and videos? Do you want to edit those photos and videos, or are you just good? Or like, that's going to also impact this as well. But I can't stress this enough. Done is better than perfect. Okay. Done.
Of course. Yes.
Better than perfect. There's a reason that my book is called Get Out of Your Own Way. Don't worry about the perfect photo or the perfect video or the perfect this. Having some photos and videos on your thing, even if they're not great, is better than having nothing at all. Having better photos is better than crappy ones. Having phenomenal ones is better than having great ones, right? But get something, because you can always change it, replace it, modify it, tweak it, and go as time goes on.
Yeah, we always say the perfect is the enemy of the good, right? You want to get out, you want to get started, you want to get going and get off the schneid there. All right, before we give you your Saturday back here, Bob, any final thoughts, any kind of closing thoughts here for our retail audience?
No, the last thing I could say is this. I get that there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of information. I always try to over deliver at every level. If you have questions, again, that's my Instagram and Facebook handle. Actually, all my social handles is there. Email is there. I'm happy to answer questions. Please email me if you're stuck on something, or if you'd like support. Obviously, like we said, we're working with Mashi and his team at Channel Fireball. I'd love to support you guys there too. And then last but not least is, I promise you that if you make this stuff a priority, the payoff will come. Might be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months before you really start to see this stuff roll in and the traffic starts to come and people start finding you. But without a doubt, this will dramatically improve your ability to get folks in the door and also increase their average purchases at the same time, which I didn't even talk about why that is, but it will happen too, just because their experience of finding you is that much easier.
And I can tell you just from experience, even if you're starting with, a channelfireball.com, that was our first few meetings were all about that. We're going to do this. We're going to lay the foundation. And 4 or 5 months in, we started having other meetings like, hey, this is where we were. This is where we are. And so you can really, really see all of that startup work pay off. It doesn't pay off right away, but 2 or 3 months down the road, you start to see it. And I'm just live testimonial. I will tell you, for channelfireball.com, we've seen that because now we have these meetings where it's like, hey, here's where we were, here's where we are, here's what we're going to keep doing, but we can see that growth. So Bob is completely right here. Just for those listening, you can find him at Bob McIntosh on Instagram, and then Bob at go3dc.com. Bob at go3dc.com. And honestly, like, again, here's another testimonial is we had a panicked issue where I randomly had to text Bob on a day, and he got back to me that day. We were talking in a few hours, and we had a plan to put into place the next 24 hours. Thankfully, we didn't have to do it, but that's how available he was, and his team was ready to jump in and help us out with stuff. So really, we work with 3DC, and I cannot recommend Bob and his team enough, especially with, I do think if you have a random question, Bob's going to be there to answer it. This isn't going to be one of those, well, here's the bill or anything like that. So many times we've reached out to Bob and just gotten great information as a resource. So I invite you to use the same resource Channel Fireball uses for all of our marketing right now, Bob and his team at 3DC. So thank you so much, Bob. This was crazy. I should Professor McIntosh, what I should say at this point.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you all for being here, committing to, 90 minutes of my crazy gingerness.
It was awesome. And I will see you on Monday, Bob. We have our meeting on Monday. So I'll see you then.
Sounds good, guys. Take it easy.
Enjoy the
Have
rest
a good
of the
weekend.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, we will be right back. And I'm going to do a little talk on how to know when to dive into new product lines here in just a minute.